All right, so installing a tub. One of the best things you can do is spend the time to get a nice level subfloor before setting the tub. That's going to make it so much easier for installation, and it's really going to take all the work out of it. Now, if you have an unlevel floor and you don't want to go through the process what I'm about to show you, there are ways to go about leveling out a tub without having to do this. But in my mind, I think the prep work here is well time spent because it just makes everything that much easier. I do have other videos on how to overcome an unlevel subfloor for tubs. I'll leave those links down below for you so you can highlight it. But you'll see that this is probably really going to be the most efficient way to be able to achieve that. And that is just using some floor leveler. So if you had an old bathroom floor like this, you don't necessarily have to take out the existing floor and start all over again. A lot of old floors that look like this are usually about 1.5 inches thick, and they're very, they're a solid foundation, and it requires a lot more framing work after removing them. So if you don't want to get into actually removing this, then you don't have to because that is a really good foundation. Now this is a newer tile installation, so I already know that this is really well set. So you can tile over tile, no problem. The biggest thing is just to make sure that existing floor is 100% sound and set. Because if this lifts for any reason, it's obviously going to lift any layer above it. So what we're going to do is we're obviously just leaving this tile, and what we're going to do is floor level straight up to the level of this tile. Now with the thin set layer, I mean, we're about 1/2 inch thick. So to me, that's going to make the easiest ability is just to floor level it. Now, if I was unlevel from one side to the other, now when I originally did this bathroom, I floor leveled the whole thing. So I already know it's 100% level either way. I'm just actually just filling up the area in there. But if it was very unlevel for you, you can do two things. One, you can floor level the entire floor, even going over top of this. Now you are going to want to prime this prior to pouring floor level over it, and that's what we're also going to be doing over the existing floor leveler as well. So primer is a very important step. You have to prime the surface before you do it. But if you didn't want to floor level the entire outside floor, you could always put like a little band board down just where the area of the tub is. So for instance, in our tub situation, it's going to be 32 inches. You could just set a board 32 inches, screw that down, and then pour floor leveler level in this area. And then when you do the outside floor, now this is like overcoming small amounts of unlevelness. So if you were 1/2 inch out or something like that, I think this solution would work. If you were above that, then you're going to have a problem when you're tiling the outside to meet up the tub, because then you'll have a tub that doesn't meet the tile properly. But that's always a solution. You can always just floor level the actual tub area and not have to do the entire floor area. But since this is level, all I'm going to be doing is meeting up with this. So first thing I want to do is kind of block off my areas that I want to have my floor leveler go to. So right around this drain area, I'm just going to set something to keep that floor leveler from falling in. And then you want to seal around here because you don't want this stuff. This is just a regular latex caulking because you don't want that to seep down into your wall cavity. And then as you can see, I have some sill foam here. This was from the prior floor leveler installation. So we're just going to use that as our buffer. You want to have a little bit of expansion and contraction for the floor leveler to the actual wall. So that's what that foam gasket's going to do. So now really all we have to do is indicate what level is with this existing tile. And all we're going to do is use some screws. So we just want to make sure that we have an indication point for what's level when we pour this floor leveler. Yeah, let's say that looks pretty good. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just make sure these two All right, so you could put as many indications as you want, but honestly, that's going to be enough for me because then I'm just going to make it even with the tile and then just make sure that my floor leveler hits those points there. So now we'll just go ahead and prime this. This takes a good hour to dry before we could pour it. And I'm setting this up. So what I did today was the rough-in electrical, and then I'm prepping my floor for the tub. I'll be installing my tub tomorrow. I think it's really efficient because it only takes a little bit of time to do this. Basically the longest time you're waiting for is for this primer to dry or get tacky, and then you just pour the floor leveler, and then tomorrow I have a nice flat surface for my tub. So let's go ahead and just work this primer in. Okay, so just let that dry. Just has to be tacky, but it usually takes about an hour for this to dry. And we can just go ahead and pour that floor leveler. Okay, so one thing about mixing floor leveler is you have to make sure that you mix the right amount of water per bag. And I would advise just mixing full bags just to make sure you get the right ratio. But one thing floor leveler loves to do is overflow a bucket. So if you don't have a 6-gallon bucket, just cut one and that'll make a taller bucket so it doesn't overflow. So we're gonna go ahead and mix this. So 6 quarts of water for this particular mix. All right, so you just have to make sure that this primer is dry before you apply this, or at least very tacky. Now I do have a little screeder here that's gonna help me pull this around. Not 100% necessary, you can just even use a piece of wood to do it. But all we're gonna do is pour this on and make sure it stays level with our screw indicators. Where's our screw? There's our screw right there. Okay, that should do it. So again, if this was on level here, we could have primed all our tile and a floor leveled over that as well, as long as this was really well set. So this is worth every bit of hours worth of work just to get this nice and level, so then we can install the tub tomorrow.